Hello.
Hello, hello. Ooh,
Hi,
I'm frozen.
Olivia.
Hi, Whitney. Just the two of us today.
It's just the two of us. I won't sing. Everybody's turning off now.
I
They're like, can't listen because
I
I
was gonna
am,
say I will not sing, but you go for it.
I'm pretty sure I am like literally tone deaf. Like, so bad. I can't dance. I can't sing.
Oh, I
There's not
cannot
many
sing.
things I can do,
That's
actually.
I feel like that's not true because I feel like you're a woman of many talents.
No, says the woman who
Yeah.
just like, oh guys, I was just playing around and you whipped up this beautiful website for us. Guys, it's coming. Our website's
Yes,
coming
we're
and
getting a
merchandise
website.
soon. Yeah,
Yes.
so this is a special edition. It's
hmm
Whitney and Olivia, and we're gonna get to know each other today on the Miles with Moms podcast, a podcast for moms who run. Um,
Yes.
so yeah,
Look
this
at that short little intro there for the
I shortened it, guys,
podcast.
because Olivia and I, we just spent like the last 20 minutes talking about our dogs,
hmm
and we're on a time crunch, so or I am because my kids get home from school soon, so we're doing like speed dating this
Yeah.
round.
So tell me about yourself.
Yeah, okay, I don't know. In two how do you describe yourself? Yeah, so we're gonna get to know because we're the biggest strangers on the podcast in that,
Yeah.
like, I didn't know you until Shanna introduced me to you and we did that
hmm
call. I was like, who is this girl with the
I
beautiful
know.
braids? That's how, whenever I talk about you, Eleanor's always like, oh, okay, she's the one with the good hair.
Oh
Well, they
my
all have
gosh.
good hair, but she's like she
Yeah.
loves the braids.
Oh
She's
my
all
gosh,
about
that's
that.
so cute. Thanks. Thank you, Eleanor. I appreciate that.
It means a
That's
lot, she's a
yeah.
tough cookie.
Honestly, if that age gives a compliment, that is like the ultimate compliment. So,
It
yeah.
is so true. They
Yep.
do a great job of pointing out flaws,
Yes,
for
definitely.
sure.
Yeah. I have a jumpsuit that I got a compliment on from like a 16-year-old, and every time I wear it, I'm like, this is sick, or whatever they said. This is I'm always like that. I don't know. It could be the most boring jumpsuit ever, but that person liked it. And I'm like, you know what? If a 16-year-old is validating this, because otherwise they could have talked behind my back and been like, why is she wearing that? And she chose to come to my face and tell me it was. I'm
It was
pretty sure
sick.
she used. Yeah, that's why. Otherwise, I wouldn't have used that word. Pretty sure she said it was sick.
I'm
So,
impressed that you own a jumpsuit.
oh yeah, I'm all about it. I'm all about
Are
that.
you?
Just whatever is like the most comfortable item I can possibly wear. That is it. Yeah, I wear like jeans once a year maybe, and I did it already.
Yeah. I've already done it for this year, so I'm done. I have a lot of rompers, like
Ooh,
short,
yes.
because then you don't have to take the whole thing off when you go to the bathroom.
Oh, smart. Yes,
You
I know.
just
That's the
put it to
one
the side.
thing about. Like, that is the one thing about jumpsuits, and no matter who I'm with, I'll announce it that I was just in a public bathroom and I had to fully strip, and I'm like, why do I keep telling that? But it's because it's like this crazy thing that happens in a woman's day if you choose to wear a full length romper or jumpsuit or any one piece of that nature,
It's
Like,
it is weird. You're like, I'm just completely disrobing in this public
yes.
forum.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not that like people can see you, but
Yeah. Well, what if the bathroom stall ever did have like too much of a crack in it? Then you're like, wow, this would be the show. Like there would be no question if someone's in there or not. She's sitting there just pretty much naked in
yeah,
public. That's what
full
it feels like.
frontal. Yeah,
Full frontal. Yeah, definitely. Because at the airport, I always wear those like the jumpsuit at the airport, but it's like, I don't know. It's not all the way down. I don't know. And so I'm like, oh man, this is like such a good choice for an airplane, but not for that whole restroom situation. But I'll continue to announce it to everybody. So you'll know.
you guys, I had to take off all my clothes. And I did it in under 30 seconds. How impressed are you with me? Yeah, I always love that. I have no idea where these conversations are going to go, and here we are.
Here we are.
We are.
I know.
Okay, so we have questions for one another.
Mhm.
I am going to start. Is that okay?
Ooh, yeah, go for
Yeah.
it. I'm
Okay.
nervous.
How did you end up out west in Utah? Because
Ooh.
you're a Minnesota girl, right?
Mhm. I
So
am.
how did that happen?
So funny. Okay. It's such a long journey here.
Buckle up,
Essentially what
everybody. If you think she talked about polygamists for a long
Yeah,
time,
you have no idea
no
how
idea.
many what you're getting into. So I have moved around a ton. Like in general, I love the idea of getting up and moving. So I spent some time in LA. I was going to college out there
Oh
actually,
my
and then
gosh, I did
I
not know
know.
this.
Yeah, it was short lived. I didn't go to a ton of classes. I wasn't very good about that, but I did go to socialize as much as I could.
What
And
college
yeah,
was it?
I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and
No
Merchandising. So,
way.
yeah, so I did 1 year. They have like a 2 year associates for marketing, and I did 1 year of it basically. And, or I don't, it wasn't even, it was like no, sorry. They divided it up into quarters because it's a private university, so it's super expensive.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's crazy. So I did like 2.5 quarters of it. I ended up not finishing because I was like not going to any class. I mean, I was going to classes. I wasn't doing a whole lot though. And my
AKA I flunked out, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, I mean, if that was an option, if that would have been a thing that they could have done, then that hold on, I have to turn off my echo, I think is what's happening here. I hear my
Oh, do you? I don't hear it.
mhm.
Oh,
Okay.
did you do it?
I tried, but it won't let
Oh,
me.
it won't
But
let
it's okay.
us.
It sounds better now.
Okay.
Um yeah, so so what happened is I like they don't flunk you out because they want your money.
Right.
So I was like, I just don't feel like I'm thriving here, and I was super lost after ballet. I was just very, very, very lost, as a lost little puppy.
And that
So
ended because of your injury? You got injured?
mhm,
Okay.
yeah, and so that was how I went to EMT school. My brother was going to EMT school, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fly home to Iowa, or like my grandma lives in Iowa, and so I was like, I'll go to the same EMT school my brother went to. It's a very short program, but it was basically just to get me in line. Like, Olivia, just have something, anything that you could go and get a job, so we're not spending a gazillion dollars at some private university. And
So you're
I
what,
was
like 20 years old at this point?
yeah, well, like 19.
Okay.
So I
Wow.
was, yeah, it all happened super fast. I, so I will get there. So I stopped in Vegas.
I'm not
I was
telling you to
like,
land the plane. We're
yeah,
good.
so I stopped in Vegas and I was at a concert, and I was like, I
Ooh,
saw
what concert?
ambulances.
Sorry.
Um,
I keep interjecting.
no, it's okay. I'm trying to think what the concert was. It was the
Stone Temple
iHeart.
Pilots. I have no idea. You're like, I was 2 years old, Whitney. Oh,
Yeah, and I'm
sorry.
like, who is that? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, I don't know who they are.
I just it came in my head and I
I'm
thought
kidding.
it like meant something.
Oh my gosh, no. I went to see the iHeartRadio Music Festival is what it
Okay.
was. And then so it was a whole bunch of artists. And then I was at a club, and Avicii was playing. And I was just reminiscing on all of this, which is just kind of funny because I was watching that Avicii documentary.
Oh,
But
my husband's like obsessed with him.
oh really? It was
Yeah.
it was I was just talking, I was like, I'm so glad my early 20s were when he was like creating music, because it was just such a like I have so many memories of being young and like not having a care in the world.
Yeah.
And so anyway, what happened though, there were ambulances parked outside of these places, and I was on my way to go do EMT school. So that was how I was like, I want to sit in an ambulance and go to concerts. And so that was actually I became a paramedic so that I could work in Vegas specifically. And so that's, I mean, I've talked about like how I don't want to do it anywhere else. So I went and I got experience in Iowa first, because I did go on an interview and I was like, it was way over my head. I was like, these are like calls I wouldn't know how to deal with. So I went and I got like some experience in Iowa, where I did like my internship, because I went to the University of Iowa to go get my paramedic license. And then I moved back to Vegas by myself. And So
Oh my
that
gosh.
was, yeah, I went and I got to Vegas, I got an apartment, and then I got my dog, the one that we were just talking about. I got my dog,
Yeah.
and that was it. I was like, everyone's like, you don't know anybody here? And I didn't know anybody. And that was just how I ended up in Vegas. I
You
just
moved to
loved it.
Vegas all by yourself in this
Yeah.
brand new, like very intense career.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah, it
moved to
was crazy.
DC for ballet all by yourself too, right?
Yeah, so I had been out on my own for a good while at that point. So
Wow.
anytime I was at home, like I didn't ever move back in with my mom. So when I had moved to DC, that was the same year, I think. Maybe it was right before that, but that was the same year she had divorced my dad, and so she was off living her own life. She had a cute new condo, and both of her kids had moved out and were doing their own thing. And so to like, I really love that she like had this freedom. And so to kind of, I mean, I was young, I was like only 16, 17, 18 at the time. And so to be like, hey mom, can I come live with you, seemed crazy at the time. Now that I have kids, I'm like, I don't think it would have been that crazy, but yeah, that's
Especially now it's normal to be like 30
yes.
and living with your parents. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. Which, like, we make fun of my mom nonstop for. We're like, you were trying to kick us out at like 12. She was like, get good at ballet so you don't have to live here. No. We always just, we never
I
stop.
remember you saying she's a free spirit, like go follow your
Yes.
dreams, whatever.
Yep.
But those dreams have to be outside the house.
Yeah. No, that's like still how it is. It's so funny. Like, I don't know. And I understand like her wanting her own space. So I'll never hold it against her. But yeah, so anytime I would do anything, if I ever needed to like regroup, I would go regroup at my grandma's house. Or so yeah, that was why Iowa too. And because people are like, why Iowa? But I had a wonderful experience at the University of Iowa. I went at the same time that my brother was there. So that was super fun. That was like the last time we got to spend a significant amount of time together. So yeah, so it was so Vegas was just very interesting because outside of the strip, it's not a normal place, but people live there and
Pretty
have very
suburban.
normal. Yeah, they have
Yeah.
very normal lives for the most part. It's just if you want to go to a really nice restaurant, it's just all right there, or go to a club. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting. So yeah, that's how I ended up there. And then where like down where Shanna lives, it's only like an hour and a half from Vegas. So St. George, that's where my husband and I moved when we were still dating. He was like, "Hey, I've been thinking about moving to Utah." And I was like, "That's crazy.
So you
I'll
guys
go."
met at work because he's a firefighter. So I'm assuming. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, he just is like, I've always wanted to move to Utah. He had horses up here. And so yeah, I didn't know him for very long. And so that was interesting looking back, being like, why did you go with this person that you didn't really know to another state? But yeah,
Wait,
I was
so how long
figuring it
were
out.
you guys together for
When we,
when you moved to Utah?
like 6 months maybe?
That
Not
is
that long.
not that long.
Yeah, but anybody in Utah would be like, that's a very long time to know someone before marrying them, even.
No
So,
way. Okay,
yeah,
I really do want to come out and visit you guys.
you should.
But
It would
I
be so
also
fun.
want to like experience this Utah culture that you guys keep
I
talking
know.
about. I didn't know anything about it. The only thing I really know about Utah is my husband has a friend who lives out there, and he is like this crazy natural born runner and just like the coolest guy ever. And so we've gone out to visit him a couple times, and it's really
Very cool.
in Salt
Yeah.
Lake. Like that's the only experience with Utah that I know. So
Yeah. It's crazy. There are so many athletes here because the weather is, especially in southern Utah, the weather is nice most of the year other than the heat. And so people just are outside all the time. So there's like little kids just mountain biking these crazy trails and stuff. And like they just start them young. And yeah, it's such a different place than anywhere else I've ever experienced. And because I always pictured myself living in a big city. I never pictured myself like being in such a suburban place. So I'm surprised by everything that's happening all the time. But it's a very like community oriented place, I would say. And it's just interesting. It's different than other states. That's all. And so like there's a lot of TV shows recently about Utah, and I'm like, they don't always make them look doesn't always make Utah look fantastic, but overall very wholesome place to raise your kids. So that's good.
Okay.
So that's
You and
good.
the polygamist.
Yes.
Okay, so when you did ballet in DC, like tell
Mhm.
me about that. Like where were you performing? I think you mentioned the Kennedy Center. Like where did you live? Because I went to college in DC. So
Yes. Okay, that's so which is wild. I think that's such a cool connection that we have. Okay, so
you were zero, I think, when I was there. Just kidding.
I very highly doubt it.
No, I think I'm 10 years older than you. How old are you?
I'm
32?
30. I'll be 32. Yeah, I'm about to
Okay, I'm
be.
43. So,
Okay.
so
Yeah. So it's okay. No,
it's okay.
I was just, it's okay. I was not an infant when you were in college. Just to clarify, it's so funny because I do this with my husband all the time, and because Shanna was making fun of me the other day while we were out running, and she was like, "Oh, when did you graduate high school?" and made up some like number way back. And I was like, it's funny because that's only like a couple of years from when my husband graduated high school. And like, because we don't do that ever. Like, what were you doing in 99,
Right.
But just, yeah.
Do
After a
people
while, it's like,
normally do that?
oh my gosh. Well, when people, like, if you ever talk about what year you graduate and we're
Oh
like
my
in the
gosh,
same
year
place, like,
2000.
were you the year 2000?
I was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, totally.
That's an awesome, it's like an awesome year to like remember that you graduated that year because I was
It
like, I don't
was. I
know,
mean,
what
the
was
world
it?
was going to end.
Exactly. Yeah. So much was happening in the year 2000.
Y2K. I know.
Yeah. I
Crazy.
have a fun fact about that. So I was actually born and raised in Germany until I was
Oh
11.
my
And
gosh,
so in the year
why?
2000, we were changing over to the euro, and that's like a very core memory for me. And everybody's like, that's weird.
That is
But
really fun. You're so cultured. Wait, so why did you live in Germany?
because my parents had a ballet school there. They were both ballet dancers. Yeah. So every
Oh,
once in a while, I'll whip up some German, and it's like, where did that come from? And it's like deep in there. But yeah, so I don't
you
talk
lived
about
there
that a
until
whole
you were
lot.
11?
Yeah.
Oh
So we
my
moved in
gosh.
'04 or 3. Yeah. So
Wow.
I know it's so crazy. And I always
You
get
have
my,
lived like a million lives, I feel
I
like.
know. I feel like I have to. It's hard. It was hard, always hard. I went back to regular high school for a very small amount of time after I broke my foot. I just had like a few credits to finish, and I remember just being like, so weird. These people have never like gone anywhere or done anything, and like I remember sitting across from this girl, and she was like, I would never go to Washington, D.C. or New York City. And I was like, why? And she was like, because we have Chicago. And if I ever needed to go get pizza, I could just go to Chicago. And I was like, that's so funny. Because, like, I bet in 5 years you're going to want to go. But they had just never been anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had just lived so many lives by the time I was like 18. But yeah, so much of that is just like like the opportunity because of dancing, and that was it. So which is crazy because I like didn't even finish off my potential with it. Just ended.
Do
But
you, yeah, I mean, okay, so you touched on that on the
yeah.
Patreon.
Hmm.
Um, paid Patreon, guys.
Yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
know. um but anyway, so I danced at Washington Ballet, which is up in Georgetown if you go all the way up with
That's where I went to
Wisconsin.
school.
It's so crazy. Wait, so
Wait,
did you go to Georgetown?
I did. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's wild. That is
From
so crazy.
2000 to 2004. No, wait, I'm sorry. I went to Indiana University my freshman year, and then
Okay.
I was miserable, and then I transferred to Georgetown. So I was there 2001 to 2004. So the Washington
Wow.
up Wisconsin Avenue, okay,
Mhm.
like
Yep.
close to the embassies.
Yep. Super close. So, you know where the National Cathedral is?
Mm-hmm.
Like 0.7 miles up that way, and that's
Oh,
where
okay.
Washington Ballet is just like this little, yeah, little slice of magic. So, yeah, it's super crazy. So, I love Washington D.C. Like I if I wasn't a paramedic in Vegas, I always thought after 5 years I would go to Washington D.C. to be a paramedic out there. Like or if I was ever an ER nurse, I would have wanted to do it out there. I love, love DC. I think it's everything about it is fantastic.
I love DC too. It's so cool.
Yeah.
My memory of up that far up Wisconsin, this is so weird. I was training for a marathon, which it ended up getting canceled because of a terrorist threat. But
Oh
I
my God.
remember it was like snowing, like many inches of
Yeah.
snow. And I ran as far as I could up Wisconsin and came back, and I was freezing, and I came inside and just started yelling at all of my roommates, like, turn up the heat. My nipples are frozen. We're like, oh my God, Whitney,
Oh my
you are insane.
goodness. That is
Crazy runner
wild.
even back then.
Yeah. I know. I love that you have that, like that you even ran during college. At least you had some sanity during that time.
I
So,
don't know how I did it, because I mean, I still also was partying, like drinking Natty
yeah.
Light the night before. I mean, I guess that's what youth
Yeah.
gives you, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's
That is being young.
yeah,
Definitely. I
yeah.
love that. I love the idea that a young
Well, I don't
Whitney
have
was
many
just
talents. Like, I'm not saving lives and dancing and, you know.
yeah, yeah, but your talent lies in communication and like delivery and being a people person, and
I don't know
you
about that.
have
And
but
no.
your journalism background is that's super unique because I feel like with journalism, how many, I don't know, like I feel like the idea of it is really cool for a lot of people and then they don't know how to pursue it properly, right? Is that
It's hard to even say because it's so different now.
oh,
So
yeah.
I think like back when I was getting into it, yes. And I would agree with that. Like, you really had to pay your dues and work really hard to get
Mhm.
a job, because it was everybody wanted to be on TV. And you
Mhm.
can't, like, I qualified for food stamps. Like, I
Mhm.
made $18,000 out
Are
of
you
college.
serious? Oh
Yes,
my
like my
gosh.
dad forbid me. He was like, you are not taking that job. Yet, like, you would make more money working at Walmart. And I was
Yeah.
like, but Dad, this is how
Yeah.
it is. So yeah, it's funny, like checking out at the grocery store, like, hey, aren't you that girl on TV? And I'd be like, yep,
That's
my food stamps.
wild.
Just kidding. I didn't actually use the food stamps, but
Yeah.
I could have.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think people just assume like you can just automatically go to a big city and be on TV. And
Mhm.
now it's different though. Now it's people, now anybody can be a journalist, right? Anybody can be a star through TikTok,
Mhm.
Instagram, whatever. And so it doesn't have as much clout. And I feel like the people that watch the news are older now too. So it's just not as attractive. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, so you can jump cities quicker. Like, you typically started in a small market, and then you'd have to work there for a few years and make a really good resume tape reel now, and then move
Yeah.
on from, like, to a mid-sized market. And it was really competitive. And now I don't, obviously, like, the big cities are still very competitive, or to be on cable news is still very competitive. But now I
Mhm.
think it's not. I mean, just judging, this is terrible. I don't watch local news anymore. After I got out of it, it was like
Oh,
it just
really?
left such a bad taste in my mouth. But there are a lot of high quality people that do it, and then a lot where it's not good, and you can just tell that the standards aren't as high. And TV stations don't really make a lot of money anymore, so they don't have money
Sad.
to recruit good talent. So
That's
anyway,
sad.
yeah, oh
Like
well, it's dying. You can get your news anywhere now, you
you
know.
can. That's very true. Yeah. I feel like it's the older generation that's probably
Mhm.
still very like clinging on to their local news person,
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I always find it sad when someone like doesn't like I'll read like this person's leaving blah 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 radio or news station like from my local hometowns and I'm like, "Oh, that's so sad." But like I haven't watched them in
Never.
forever, but
Yeah, but they are kind of like an institution, and so it does
yeah.
show. It is the sign of the times.
Do you miss
Um,
it?
Not at all. I got
You
out
don't?
and never looked back. No, I was just
Really?
having a personal crisis this fall, when I was like, maybe I should get back into it. But no,
Yeah,
it was
I know.
so, because it just was not what I thought it was going to be. Um,
Oh,
it
that's
was
so
not,
sad.
I was not reporting on things that I thought were
Hmm.
important. A lot of it
Yeah.
was preying on vulnerable, hurting people, and the
Hmm.
industry is just kind of sleazy. News directors, the people in charge of the station are pretty just not good people. Like I
Yeah.
never worked for anybody that I at all admired, and your job is your life and they have complete control over you. And I think unless you really, really love it, it's not going to be for you.
Yeah. That's
And
so tough. That's a
yeah.
tough realization, like working all that
Mhm.
time. And then the only thing I know about the news industry is I watched that show, The Morning Show on Apple TV. Did you watch that?
Yeah, that was so good. That was a good
It
show.
was, yeah, it really was. I think there will be another season. I'm very excited about.
Oh,
But
they
that's
are.
really all I know.
I need it. I need a show to watch. So when ballet, I know you touched on this. Sorry, there's stuff happening
No
outside.
worries.
Oh, good. Jake
I
is
feel
home.
like you've been, oh, good. So another set of eyes for your pups.
Exactly.
That's good.
For those who don't know, we're dealing with a dog situation, and both have to be constantly monitored right now.
Yeah,
So,
it's tough.
yeah. So when ballet abruptly ended, how did you cope with that? Do you remember?
I didn't cope well and I ate a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a really hard time. I just didn't know. I was so lost. Like I just look back and I've talked to my mom a little bit about it. I so when I broke my foot and then I was staying in DC for a while, but DC is super expensive and I wasn't getting
Mhm.
paid because and they wanted you to come and watch all these classes and I just was like, I can't keep sitting here and waiting when, resources in Minnesota were just a lot easier. I was still on my mom's insurance and stuff, of course. And so I was at my mom's for a few weeks and I was so lost and I just wish I would have had a little bit more guidance. And yeah, I just ate. I remember like I would just order the family meals from Pizza Hut and just eat them because I had nothing else. I was like
Yeah.
not wearing a leotard. And so I literally ate my feelings. And so you will never see me eat my feelings anymore. I have a very normal relationship with food now. And, ice cream for me is like happy celebration food, not I'm so sad food and stuff like that. It's taken so many years for me to get that way. But I grew up where the only value you could be hired in a company just because you had a great body and you were like an okay
Mm.
dancer, And so, yeah, that was tough. I just didn't cope very well. And I was just always searching for that thing that made me unique again.
Mhm.
And I just wasn't normal and I never grew up nor I wasn't normal for so many reasons like my both of my parents were ballet dancers. And so you spend all this time in a studio, but yet you're surprisingly worldly and you know a lot about a lot of things that other people don't know about. Like you could play me classical music and I'm like Rain Man with it. I can name everything, but
Oh
that's not
wow.
super normal, and it's like other people don't really want to sit around and listen to classical music while you're like, oh, this is blah, blah, blah symphony. And so, it was weird. I was always so odd and it was so hard. So, like, working so hard to fit in and be normal. And then, the thing that helped so much was going to EMT school and like finding this thing that like I could learn academy style basically where you're in class all day and you're not going to separate classes. It's just like you're there, you're learning, and that helped so much. It just gave me some structure. And, I had to wake up and be in uniform every day again. And that helped just so so much. I think like if I was watching my kids go through something like that, I would handle it very differently. And I because my mom and I parent very similarly while these kids are little. There's just so many things I can think of that as we got older that I would probably just do differently. And it's no knock to her. If you're
Right.
listening, mom, no knock
Yeah.
to you. It's just different. It's just totally different because she was so like she really wanted us to figure it out. And I feel like that would have been a great time to have been told, this is going to be so much harder than you could ever think. I really want you to think about these choices. Like, these are the avenues you can go down. These are your options. This is what it'll look like financially. And, like that
Do you
year I
think you
went
would
to
have
LA.
listened though? Like, do you
I
think you
don't
would have?
know. I think the ballet part, if she would have just been like, listen, I'll pay your rent for a year if you just continue to go dance. And then it would have reignited. I was so burnt out. I was so, so, so burnt
Okay,
out.
that answers
So,
a question I have because you broke your foot. Like, was
mhm.
it really like you're done? You
Oh, I
can't
probably could
re-enter.
have
You could
rehabbed.
have come
Yeah.
back, but you mentally were just done.
Yeah, when it happened, and then I was like, just resource wise, it was just like there was nothing really there. And like, I just didn't have any, like, I needed a mentor and I needed just guidance, like of any
Mhm.
sort, even the smallest amount. And like, there was no, we weren't sitting on Instagram being inspired every day. Like, we were just
Yeah, you felt
figuring.
so lonely, I'm sure.
Yes. And then watching all my friends, go through. And so, yeah, I was getting ready to leave DC. I really, really wanted to leave. And so I was like working really hard on an audition tape and all this stuff. And so I just very much felt like, wow, this was supposed to happen. And then I was watching my brother. He wasn't dancing anymore. And I was like, he seems happy. I like that. And that
Okay.
was hard. It was just really hard. I was very confused, very, very, very little guidance. I was such a know-it-all at the time too, so probably nobody wanted to approach me with guidance, like,
Mhm.
you just because you're
That's your
like,
defense mechanism, I'm sure.
yeah, you're just out there fending for yourself because you're
Mhm.
like, it's such a competitive industry. And so, yeah, now it's like, I mean, my husband would disagree, but when people offer me advice, I really take it into consideration so much. Yeah, he's the only one that maybe I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so it's just it was definitely tough. I think back a lot of like how did it all evolve that way so much, but yeah, I of course just wish it would have gone differently. And I just wish I would have just taken a chance on myself to get back in shape. Like, yes, eat for 3 weeks straight, then go get back in a studio, put on a leotard, you'll be all right. Like, but instead I didn't. And I did the rehab for my foot and I called it a day. That was it. So
So you have regrets.
yes, yeah, I have a lot of regrets. And I'm not really ashamed of it, but I feel like nothing has ever broken my heart the way that ballet did. Like, it
Mhm.
was just, and I just wish so badly I would have just gone back, not even back to DC. I would have loved to have just called it a day and just made an audition tape and see who was willing to take a chance on me again, and
Mhm.
yeah, and I just didn't do that. And I don't know. I think I was just so tired of feeling so beat down. I'd had a tougher year, I think. At the time, the director of the studio did not like me at all. He just he really liked very, 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 very unbelievably thin people. And
Yeah.
when I arrived to Washington D.C., I was very unbelievably thin because I had just had like a massive eating disorder.
Mhm.
And like, I was so skinny. And so the healthier version of me was still very thin, like, if you compared her to me now, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But yeah, to him, that was just like I had gained all this weight, and so it was just
I'm
like a
surprised that you'd want to go back to that environment because it to me
yeah.
just seems very unhealthy and cutthroat.
Yeah.
And this
Yes.
is just me, complete outsider's perspective. I don't know anything about the dance world, but like
Yeah,
what
it's
about it makes you feel regretful walking away from it? You just knowing like you didn't live up to your potential?
Yeah, I think so much of that. And just also that, like, watching how much my daughter loves ballet. And, I know if I hadn't quit ballet that she wouldn't be a thing. Like, I know that. But
Mhm.
that I could have lived out a little girl's, like, also like 3-year-old Olivia. Like, if you were like, oh, 3-year-old Olivia, you're going to be a paramedic, she'd be like, what? Like, why? And but it was just inherently what my like what I was designed for. If I still go, like say I go to an adult ballet class, I'll still just be better than everybody else, and not to like toot my own horn or anything, but like that's what it is I'm just, it was what I was gifted with. And some, like, it's like Shanna with her speed. You're like, where did that come from? You just started again. But it's inherently like she was just blessed with this like speed, and it's what she did growing up. And so that's how I feel about it too. Like it was what I was born to do. And so I just feel regretful of that. It is cutthroat, but I really like that. Like I like that you have to be good to go far in it. And I just like that you have to work really hard. I always worked so hard, and I love that. And so it's also very different now. Things are more accepting. Like some of the biggest dancers in the most well-known dancers in the world are extremely muscular, and they're known for the fact that they're so strong versus being so skinny. It is so different now than it was 13, 14 years ago. So there's that. I would have loved to have been a part of that. So I think just like the fact that there was like untapped potential,
Mhm.
and yeah. So of course I look and I'm like, my life is so fantastic. I don't regret anything that's happened in that sense. I just wish that maybe 18-year-old Olivia would have just seen it out a little bit farther. But I tried to get back into it so many times, like going back to the University of Iowa. I went and I took dance classes and stuff. And, they were like, what are you doing at a university? And I was like, I know. But like I had my paramedic license at the time already. So it was like, I should go, and I really need to go and use this. And so that's what I decided was like the best option, was to just go and like make a career for myself at a, like, at like 22 or whatever. So that
I
was,
think what's kind of helped me, because I feel that way, not with journalism, because I know
mhm.
that by the time that I was done with it, like I was done with it. Like I knew there was
Yes.
no way that I was going to like it. But I feel that way with running, which I think is why it was so hard for me to finally let go of those goals. Like had it just, I just feel like I've never got the chance to reach my potential, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but to me, what's helped me is just kind of like rewriting my story in a way that like it wasn't supposed to be like all or nothing. It what you weren't supposed to like. There are many benefits from what you already accomplished and the lessons that you learned along the way, and perhaps like the lessons that people have learned from your journey, and just
Mhm.
the bumps along the way, sort of
Mhm.
thing. And accepting that what I have done, even though it wasn't what I thought I was capable of, it's still enough, you know?
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
that whole
Yeah.
like enoughness. It's
Mhm.
which is such a struggle, especially when you see people doing amazing things and you're like, I could have done that if, but
Mhm.
that just wasn't your story or my story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. I feel
No,
like
it
when I
does.
talk about these things, it makes a lot more sense in my head. But
Well, luckily you have it on audio. You can just play it back because it does make sense. But right now, you see, I feel like you're talking like that your running potential is, that was it. But I don't feel like that was it for you. I feel like you're just beginning, just, and it, like your starting point just had to start at a new point, basically. Does that, if that makes sense?
it does. But I, knowing just how my life is and
Mhm.
the demands upon it, I just don't see for me to train at the level in my mid 40s to run a 2:45. It's just, it would have to be all encompassing. And that is not the life that I want to live or can live with
Mhm.
everybody needing me. You know, like
A
there's so
hundred
many.
percent.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean there's really, like I've said before, a lot of people do the early morning and that just doesn't
Mhm.
work for our family. And yeah, it's just, and then I work during the day, and so
Mhm.
it's just, it's it's just not. And I just think we'll see what happens, like
Yeah.
removing those, because they were really, I instead of like reaching for the stars. They actually became a glass ceiling in a way, those big goals, that
Mm-hmm.
now just kind of seeing where it goes feels so much better and feels so much more empowering, instead of like every time there's a hiccup in training, like this week, it is not going to be what was written on the schedule just because of everything that's happening with taking care of Riley, my dog that had like emergency surgery. I just, before, that would just give me so much anxiety and just make me feel so defeated. And now I'm like, it's fine. It's not what I want and it's not ideal, but that's life, and your fitness will unfold at the rate that your body and your life allows it to.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, I just felt like I was forcing things all the time, which just completely, as I've talked about ad nauseum, stripped the joy out of running. And so yes, I do hope to like run faster, but as far, maybe in shorter distances, but as far as training for a 240 something marathon, that just seems uh not realistic. I hear that background noise. Do you hear that? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either. I'm so sorry. I actually do know what it is. It's my son's toy harvester. It's a
Oh.
remote control car, but it just turned on out of the blue really quick. Hold on, let me let's see. Here it
Well, you
is.
have it now.
Yes, I have it. Well, because it just turned on out of the blue. That's kind of
Olivia's
scary.
just going to start playing with toy trucks now for the
Yeah.
rest of the
I have baby doll and toy trucks. They leave me little things for when I podcast. They're like, just so, yeah.
I mean, you
like,
don't have any
just so
stuffed
you're
animals this time,
There's no
so
stuffed animals, no. Just the world's creepiest little.
that is incredibly creepy.
I know. It's from the dollar store. My daughter loves these. She collects so many of them. It's creepy.
Oh my god, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like we have so many of them. It's crazy because every
that is-
time we go to the dollar store or somebody else brings a baby doll because she loves them, they're usually those ones from the dollar store. I'm like, I know where that came from. Uh, oh my goodness.
that is so
Well,
creepy.
I feel like I haven't asked you any questions, and now I'm trying to think. I did have some good ones.
Okay, let's do
Um,
it. Rapid fire.
let's rapid fire. Okay, okay. So I want to know, so when you were in college, were you trying to competitively run?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
So it's funny. When I went to IU, I would run. I trained so hard on my own, just out of like
Mm-hmm.
depression.
Yeah.
I was very depressed when I went there.
Oh.
And they actually, somebody saw me at, hey, Eleanor. My kids are home. Hey,
Oh, hi.
hi. Say hi.
Hi.
We have to cancel Dr. Whitley for tomorrow because Lainey's coming.
I know I already did.
Okay.
I'm on it. On it. And they asked me to run, actually. And then when I went to when I transferred to Georgetown, they saw me running and they were like on the track. But anyways, when I went to Georgetown, I talked to the coach about being a walk-on, and he was like, yeah, you could walk on, but you'll be the slowest person on the team. And so
Oh,
I
wow.
decided to and they were very, like, I was good in high school. I was never the fastest runner, but I was one of the fastest runners in high school. But Georgetown was like a very good team. Like many went to the Olympics. So
Oh,
I
wow.
decided to just run on my own. My roommate, she was on the team, and I was really glad that I wasn't, because she was just so exhausted all the time. I remember
Oh,
her.
really?
She's actually the one that got me onto Kashi cereal, because I remember her just like being asleep in bed, just eating
Yes.
Kashi Crunch asleep in
Oh my
bed.
goodness.
And then she went away for the summer and came back, and the coach was like, you need to lose 4 pounds. And so of course she got a massive eating disorder, and then he kicked her off the team.
Oh no.
And now she has a very, very popular account, because she's like a CrossFit person. She has like over 1
Oh
million
wow.
followers. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Her
Wow.
story.
That is what a journey. Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
very sad to watch, actually.
Mhm.
So no, the answer is no.
Oh,
So, but I did run
okay.
I ran on my own, and I did run my first marathon my senior year in college, which was Marine Corps, because my dad he ran the Marine Corps
Oh,
every
yes.
year when I was growing up. So
That is so neat. I love that.
yeah, it was cool.
So when you ran your 254, I'll just drop
Uh-huh.
that quick little 254
Which
in
is
there.
it's so bad because I'm not proud of it, and I know I should be, but I'm just not
Why
right
did you? Oh,
now.
because was that not your goal at the time?
No. Well, so see, this is like you go back to the ifs and
Mm-hmm.
buts. I'm like, I only had 10 months of running under my belt because I was injured for many years. And then I was like sick. Like, could not
Oh,
finish my shakeout the day before. Like, I had a fever. I felt terrible.
oh
And
no.
so yeah, like I wanted to get under 250. And
Okay.
so
Oh
I
wow.
was like, but I was like, I am not going to do that Instagram post that has all the excuses.
Yeah.
I'm going to be proud of this because I feel like every
Yeah.
race I was like, oh, there's an excuse. There's an excuse. And so
Yeah.
I really, I need to go to therapy and be proud of it. Cause I know anybody that would listen, most people would be like, you should be so proud of that. But I'm still, it's like, that's why it was so hard for me to let go of my goals. Cause I'm like, I could have done so much better. But then I
Yeah.
tore my labrum soon after that. So
Oh,
here
you
we are.
did.
Yeah.
Oh
It
my.
was probably more enduring it too, but it only was
Yeah.
sort of bothering me. But anyways,
Oh
sorry.
man. No, it's okay. See, I'm just
Tangent.
curious about the whole because I've been so curious about your whole running journey. There's just been, you know, it's been such a long journey. You've had well,
Because you were
because
43.
yeah, it's because you're old. I because you were older than me. No.
Yes.
I
Well,
it's a
like,
long journey.
you're like, I'm 18 in my mind or 16 in my mind.
Yeah,
I
I
like
know.
that as well. So, except for
Well,
when Eleanor asked me to do gymnastics, and I'm like, well, are you smoking crack? What are you talking about? I can't do that.
I'll do a cartwheel and that's what you're gonna get.
Oh my gosh. It's the most bent legs that she just ripped apart.
Oh my gosh. I bet ruthless. Kids are just ruthless.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm fascinated because you've been running for so long, like even throughout college and everything. I just feel like you got you've just dealt with so much throughout your running journey, plus then having your kids throughout that and having to, I feel like we have to learn how to run again after we have kids. And so I had a question about your 254. I think it was like what was your time that you ran before your 254?
My PR time before
Mhm.
that. So that was a 256, but I ran that with
Okay.
a torn hamstring. And so
You
then
did.
yeah, so that was how so when you say like my running journey, I was pretty good up until I tried to qualify for the Olympic trials. And then that's when I went
Okay.
into my injury. Like I had injuries here and there, but that was when I went into my injury cycle because it was
Mhm.
my coach was like, and stop me if I've said this before. I had no, I when I started with my coach, I had no plans to run a marathon because I thought it was going to be too time consuming. And then like 6 weeks before the Knoxville Marathon in 2019, I was like, well, I'm already running enough. I was probably running in the like low 50s and
Mhm.
let's run this marathon. And so I ran it and it's really hilly and I ran a 301 and placed second, and so that was the Olympic trials qualifying year, which was at that time was a 245, which is doable.
Mhm.
237 no way. But so that then he doubled, like we went all in and he doubled my mileage from the 50s like to the upper 90s. I think I did top out at 100, and then that's when I tore my
Okay.
hamstring in August and still continued to train on it, and I ran Indy with it torn, like dragging it behind me
Oh,
in November. So then I took
wow.
like more than a year off to rehab it.
Okay.
It wasn't like obviously it was a partial tear. It wasn't a complete tear, but
Got it.
it was the high hamstring's a tough one to fix. So don't
That's
ever get
yeah.
that.
Oh, yikes. I know as I'm sitting here like, ooh, is my hamstring a little tingly?
There's not a lot of blood flow to that area, so it can be tricky, and it's hard to
That's
rest it
interesting.
too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll reshape then. Like, well, it's just so interesting because, you know, Yeah, because to me 254 is such an accolade, and so just interesting that you were so sick going into it, but before that you had just gotten off of injury. So I guess so when you have decided now to reshape how you are running and finding the joy in running, what was the last straw for you? Like what was the last straw of like I have to do something else? Is it injury? Was it something in your mind where you're like, I just don't like this?
I think it was just this fall. I just felt all of a sudden I had to take time off here and there, mostly for illness.
Mhm.
And when I came back after taking like a couple weeks off, I just was so slow and running just felt so hard and I was so fatigued. And I've realized it was hormone related. But I was just like, there's no way I can, because every run I was beating myself up. I was like, why am I so slow? And how am I ever going to reach these goals? And that's honestly how my inner monologue has been for the past several years. Like, Whitney,
Mhm.
a 245 marathoner doesn't live this way, doesn't run like this, needs to be running. Like everything was not good enough. There was such self-flagellation with those goals. And I really started to be introspective about like, why do I even have those goals, and realize that it
Mhm.
had way more to do with honestly, blatantly trying to impress other people, especially like being on Instagram and being a running
Mhm.
coach, and like, I need to run this time to impress people and be credible in their eyes. And I started to
Mhm.
realize how much that's just frankly bullshit, you know? Like, I
Yeah.
don't think, like, if somebody's going to hire me because, they're not going to hire me because I ran a 254 and not a 248, like, then I probably don't even want to coach them to begin with or follow me. It's like you're following me
Absolutely.
or hiring me for the wrong reasons. Like,
Mhm.
just because I ran a fast time doesn't mean that that's going to make me a better coach. It's
Right.
mostly genetics. So I think that just those realizations, but really like the
Mhm.
fact that it was just sucking so much joy. And it was like running was to prove something. And that's not what running should be at all. That I was just like, it's time to let it go and stop. And it
Yeah.
just, yeah, it just became such an albatross. It really
Interesting.
was
Yeah.
freeing. Like, as cliche as that sounds, like, it was
Mhm.
so freeing to put out there that, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Do I want to be better? Yes, because it's
Yeah.
fun. It's
Yes.
fun to challenge yourself and to see how you're gaining fitness and getting stronger, but not because I'm trying to prove something to someone or even prove something to myself.
I love that. I feel no, I was I've been curious about like what the last straw was essentially. I'm always curious. The reason I was asking about your marathon times is like what was the pivot of where you want to take it to the next level, because I feel like recently I've been asked that. I'm just not 100% sure what happened that all of a sudden I'm like taking it more seriously, but at the same time I always want to have a healthy relationship with running, but I look up to you so much in that sense of you're so self-aware. And being able to take a step back and be like, I want to enjoy running. Like this isn't, this something is not working, and yeah, I'm just really impressed that you were able to do that, because I think a lot of people may feel that way and aren't ready to admit to themselves like that's where they're at, like that you're plateauing and things like that, and that something is not working. And sometimes it's, yes, changing the coach. Sometimes it's simple as, taking out a speed workout and not doing two or
Mm-hmm.
three a week, right? But I think sometimes it's really just evaluating your whole relationship with running, right? Like, yeah, where it can be so all consuming.
It is really strange. Like, I think about this a lot, how non-runners probably think we're so crazy to
Yeah.
let it become so overtaking of our lives and our mindset
Mhm.
and our self-worth. But it can't. I mean, anything that you're passionate about that's more than a hobby, and running, if you're is more than a hobby, really. It
Mhm.
is. I really do think it's a lifestyle.
Mhm.
It's so easy that it can happen. And I would say for you, my guess is that you want to take it seriously because, A, you've seen that you have potential. Miss 257. Like the company you keep is important too. Like I wouldn't have never thought that I could run under 3 hours or even, think about a 240 something until like I started running with a couple of fast women who were like, yeah, you can, and then also like you clearly are a hard worker and someone who like, well, we haven't said balls yet in the podcast, like goes balls to the wall
Whoa, yes.
on like
Yes.
something that you want, like that you're passionate about. So it
That's
just,
true.
I don't know,
Yeah.
it makes sense that you're like running is your new ballet in a way.
Yeah, it is. And I talk about that on our secret podcast, of like filtering that energy and that passion. It's hard. I find the balance of like I say things sometimes and I'm like, do I even believe that? Like it's like I want to believe it because, I said it. And then I think sometimes I'm trying to project something like running should be fun and running should be like this. And, you should have more fun with it. And then yet there I was in my marathon cycle being like, is this even working? What's the point of this? Like I only have 5 weeks left and I'm just a stress case. Yet on the outside,
You
I'm also
caught yourself though. I feel
I
like you
did.
caught yourself doing that and
I did.
right at
I
the
did. I try to be self-aware. It was like I was projecting one thing to certain people, like
tip.
because I don't want people, every person that likes running, that they have to take it so seriously and go sub 3 like it's this, it's crazy. I keep telling people this, especially as everybody's in their Boston build, and I'm like, you know, you can run a 301 and the majority of your miles will still be in the sixes, which is unreal. Like sub
Yeah.
3 doesn't change who you are as a person. It just doesn't. And I'm here to tell you that. It's so funny. And so it was like I was locked in on these thoughts. And so I feel like now I'm very much more calm. I'm like amped for every workout. I'm like a dog that hasn't gotten outside for the day yet. Like every
That's
single day,
awesome.
I'm like so excited, because I have such a different attitude towards it. And I've also been using my journal. I did talk about this on the last one, but I'm very proud of it. I've been
That's
very
yeah.
grateful.
So
Yeah.
if anybody's wondering, we are talking about Tess. How do you say her last name?
I think it's
Her
Chupinski. Correct us
Chupinski,
if
her Run Your Life journal.
yeah.
Yes, Eleanor? Look at my phone. Okay.
Cute. Yeah, we're
Sorry.
talking about that. I talked about it on the last episode. And it's because it's taken over my no, I literally feel like because I've been writing things down, it's been helping with my intentions and just being more grateful. I think like it does make you a more calm person if you're like it reshapes how you think about things, and we're just talking about like our previous career choices. Like, I'm so grateful I experienced all these things. I'm also grateful for what I have now.
Mhm.
And, yeah. So I'm like, I'm grateful I was a head case because now I know that I don't want to live like that.
Yeah, I mean, this
And
is how you grow, right? Is by
yes,
making mistakes or like being dealt challenges that you didn't anticipate. I mean, otherwise we'd just stay the same and we wouldn't
that's so
grow.
true.
But
Wow.
I mean, I think it is natural to. Did you ever? You're so young, Olivia. You're
Oh,
so young. Did you ever see the movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow? No, you're
I
like
don't
I
think
don't
so.
even
I'm
know
also
who
just,
Gwyneth.
oh, yeah, right.
You're not a big movie person.
I'm also just not a big movie person. Oops, I just dropped the mic.
What? Lenore?
Yeah,
This can
but
wait, sweetie.
No, we can't play with Dr. Georgia.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Her friend just moved to Australia and she's trying to download the WhatsApp
wow.
so that she can
Oh,
message. Okay,
exciting.
it's approved. Um, so it's funny. She became like besties with this girl literally 1 week before she moved.
Oh, sad.
It's like you have known her since you were like 4 years old, and all
Oh
of a
my
sudden you're best
gosh.
friends.
That is so
Um,
funny.
anyways, her whole life, like it shows the two different paths her life could take, where one is like if she made the train and the other one is if like she didn't make the train. So it's very
Oh, I
interesting.
see.
But it's like, I mean, that's what life is, right? Like
Yes.
had you not met your husband, I met my husband at a junior league gala. Had I not
Oh my
decided, like,
goodness.
which usually I
Yeah.
don't go to that kind of stuff. Had I not, would I have met him anyways,
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
anyways. Okay. Well, this
I
has
love
been
that.
lovely.
I know. I feel like I just had a therapy session, but I also got to know you. But also, I have more questions for
I
you
have
because,
more questions too.
oh my gosh, I
I'm
was like, I have questions for you, and then you flipped it around on me.
sorry.
It's
It's
okay.
that reporter hat. But no, I have
I
more
know.
questions for you too. I could talk to you for a very long time.
That's how I feel too. I love this.
Me too.
It's $40.
Well, all right.
Oh,
Let's
well,
see.
Again,
Eleanor, I am almost done. Can you just hold up? Hi, Cal. No. Okay.
Sorry. I know. I actually have to go as well. Charlotte's on a play date and she pooped, so she's still in a diaper. So I actually have to leave to go change a diaper at someone else's house, which
You have to go
I don't.
take her whole outfit off to go for her to go to the bathroom. See how we brought that full circle?
That
There
was
you
so
go.
full circle. I
Well,
love
we
it.
don't have a
Oh my
review to
gosh.
share, and we didn't do a shout out, but we just want to do a quick plug for our Patreon, which is like Moms Unplugged, stuff that we have to paywall. So it's
Yes.
patreon.com/Miles with Moms podcast. There's a lot happening here. Eleanor, she just used my face to download the app. She just turned on the vacuum cleaner. I don't know.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
So thank you everybody
Cute.
for coming
Yes.
onto the show.
Thank you for coming to our living room, to our
to
house.
listen to us talk, and you have a great time changing Charlotte's diaper.
I looked and I'm like, it said emergency, and then it said
Oh, no.
non-emergency. Yeah,
Oh.
it was just. It said that she tried to change her diaper, but she doesn't want me to do it. She wants you to change her when you're done. So,
Okay.
yes, it is time to potty train. Is what it is.
Charlotte wasn't. I thought at first you were saying that she was going to try to change it herself. I was like,
That would be unhinged and something
Yeah.
that she definitely would do. So,
I'm thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Knowing what I know about her, yeah,
I know.
just independent.
I'll do it. Yeah.
I got this,
Oh
Mom. With her hands covered with feces.
Oh.
Okay.
That's
All
an
right.
audio
Thank
bite.
you. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Olivia.
you.
Talk to you later.
Yes. We'll talk
Bye.
later. Bye.